Before I begin, I should note that this video will be only covering the first half of Power of 3, as this is when HarperCollins started pumping out supplementary material at pretty much the same rate as the mainline books. Also, remember that weird bizarro version of Into the Wild? Well, there's 3 other covers like it. Fire and Ice! These covers run into a lot of the same pitfalls as that Into the Wild cover. Area that's meant for contrast but is too small, boring composition, and that really weird font. I'm half tempted to just speedrun through these entries. E tier. Forest the Secret. Jesus Christ, why is there so much white? E tier. The Darkest Hour! This one's good. Well, passing anyway. It got rid of that font, which is a much needed change. A similarly welcome change is the use of the OG cover's background art instead of just the stock photo. It helps in doing more than just filling in space at the bottom of the cover. Plus, I just like the Darkest Hour's background art. Is that a crime? The giant floating cat head has also been demoted to just large, which makes it much less distracting. C tier. The site. The site's cover is very plain. The cover features J-Paw, Line-Paw, and Holly-Paw all in the circle, which is a nice way to represent their sibling bond. The background art, though, it's just a cloudy sky with thunder and some trees. That's not even a cat. But does the cover's plainness work towards its advantage? C tier. The site. The site's reprinted cover carries over one of the most important parts from the old site cover. Being bland. And I don't mean being plain. I mean being bland. Really, the only thing I can say about this cover is a dumb joke about it being called The Site and the counter cover being J-Paw. C tier, but lower than the old cover. Firestar's Quest! Before I do this cover, I should mention that I will be doing the inside covers for the Super Editions. This is because they have a lot more art and a lot less white void. This cover sucks! It has no emotion, just Firestar walking across some empty grassland. The background is even worse. It's roughly 3/4 sky, with the other quarter being composed of a barely visible river and the world's most confusing mountain drawing. The white and brown mountains are clearly meant to be different because of their shading and perspective, but outside of those two things, there's not much done to separate them. Also, why is there a snow-capped mountain in Great Britain? The sky being brighter lower down suggests that the light source is behind Firestar, but the shading of Firestar and the brown mountain implies that it's in front of them. And then you have whatever the hell the shading on the white mountain is. So where is it? E tier. Firestar's Quest! I don't have much to say about the reprinted Firestar's Quest inside cover. It's a very C tier cover, if you get what I mean. The cover is again dominated by the sky, but at least this time it's pretty instead of looking like the dark blue paint you use for an elementary school art project. C tier. Warrior's Refuge. I know there's nothing objectively wrong with this cover, but it's so funny. It depicts the scene where Millie speaks dog and is meant to have the same kind of appeal as those covers that have entire battles of cats on them. But Millie speaking dog doesn't involve any physical confrontation. If you're not a Warriors fan, then it just looks like a cat and a dog arguing. And if you are a Warriors fan, then it looks like that Millie and Graystripe are about to die. Which, fair, main character death is one way to sell a book, but also, come on! Also just Graystripe's expression. D tier. Dark River. The old cover of Dark River has fallen leaves as the cat in the circle. I feel completely neutral about this. Similarly neutral is background, which is just a bunch of rocks. I presume it's meant to be the tunnels, but it's just not identifiable. This cover is so C tier that, you know what? I'm just gonna give it D tier. Dark River. Finally, a good cover! Not only is it the rare reprint cover that goes beyond the good old cat's face mold, but it actually does some interesting things with the background. The background is that of a cave. This would raise the question inside the head of the reader, why are the cats in a cave? The old cover also aims for this, but to your average bookstore goer, they just look like rocks. Plus, the reprint cover just looks prettier. B tier. Warriors Return. Would now be a bad time to mention that I don't have any experience with the mangas. Based off of what I've learned from summaries, I think this is just before Greystripe and Millie arrive at the Gathering. It's no doubt an important scene from the book, but I think it would have been better if the cover showed Greystripe and Millie at the Gathering itself. C tier. Outcast. What is it with the old covers this arc? They're all just them tatted in a circle, and then a completely empty background. It's such a weird decision, none of the previous old covers were this empty. Empty covers don't sell books. Even less than big old cat heads sell books. D tier. Outcast. Firstly, pretty colours. Secondly, I like how they're using the grass to hide Breezeball's face. Thirdly, there's a nice little subversion of expectation with Breezeball being the cat on the cover. You see, the first two books of Power 3 had J-Paw and Lion-Paw as the cats on the cover, so naturally one would expect that the next book of Power 3 would have Hollypaw on the cover. And just looking at the cover, this could certainly be the case. I mean, yeah, the eye color is different, but when have the covers ever been consistent about this sort of thing? Hollyleaf is on the cover of Sunrise, which is a pretty important book for her, and we can't really have her be on two covers at once. So we put Breezepaw on the cover because he won the Hollypaw lookalike contest. Hollypaw's absence also doubles as foreshadowing of her not being one of the three. A tier. The Rise of Scourge! One thing that's cool about the manga covers is that they have stuff happening in them. As I have brought up throughout this video, the old covers can be empty, and as I have brought up throughout this entire series, the reprint covers can be equally as bland. This cover is quite dynamic, not only going for the tried and true trope of having cats fight each other, but having what might just be cinematography. Tiny and Tigerpaw's pose is mirrored between them, which represents their similar motivation. Additionally, them taking up two different sides of the cover represents their opposition. B tier.